Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I bring to you the Bridgeford Foods tip of the month, and it's a good one, guys. You know, it's a way to decrease the number of fish you lose and increase the number of bites you get anytime you're fishing a jig, like this little homemade deal that's a killer. So when you're throwing a jig around, you've got a weed guard here, and this bristle weed guard is what will make your bait weedless when you're fishing around wood and that type of structure, but it also will work against you in certain times. If you go to set the hook and you're not using a relatively stiff rod and some heavier pound line, you're gonna get the hook point not fully buried into the fish's mouth, which can lead to a lot of missed fish. And at the same time, when you're fighting fish, the number one way you lose fish on a jig is when that fish gets some slack in your line. So they come up and jump, or you just happen to drop. This happens all the time when you see somebody trying to hand land a fish on a jig. They reach down to get the fish, they drop their rod tip, taking the tension off the line. And what happens is your weed guard pushes the bait out of the fish's mouth and the hook back out of the hole that you had to make to penetrate into that fish's mouth. So it's really one of those things that is great to have from a weedless standpoint, but also works against you. Well, I'm here to tell you guys that a lot of times when I'm fishing a jig, I'm fishing a jig like this. There's no weed guard in there. I pulled it right out with pliers. Simple technique, you know, you just grab it, pull it right out. There really is no technique to it, but you can do it in your boat simply. And I'll do this anytime I'm fishing bluff walls, chunk rock banks, dragging a jig on deep ledges. If I know I'm fishing a place that's got a relatively clean bottom, I pluck that weed guard out. It's not doing me any good. And by removing that weed guard, I'm going to increase my bites. In my opinion, I get way more bites on a jig head without a weed guard. And at the same time, my landing percentage is going to dramatically increase because I have no weed guard working against me in this matter. Once I hook a fish, I've got an open, exposed hook in that fish's mouth. It's going to dramatically increase my landing percentage. And the thing is, a lot of you probably are going, well, you're going to get stuck that much more. Well, I can tell you when you're fishing around rocks, or you're fishing on a ledge, or you're fishing on a bluff wall, or big chunk rock, bluffy type rock, most of the time when you get stuck, it's not because of your hook point. It's because your line brought the bait into a crack in the rocks, so your bait is now wedged in between two rocks. Happens all the time. Those are going to be the ones you're going to get broken off regardless of whether you were throwing a weed guard or not a weed guard. If it truly is the hook point that you're stuck on when fishing around rock, generally all you got to do is provide slack in your line, your bait will fall back, and you can just pop it free off that rock. It's really kind of tough to get stuck just based on a hook point into a rock. You know, you're not digging your rock into that hook. You're not penetrating into the rock. So it's something to keep in mind, guys. I do this all the time. If I'm fishing bluffs, you know, chunk rock, 45-degree bank, where I know there's not much wood, I'm going to be throwing a weedless, weed-guarded bait, right? So I pulled the weed guard out. Just something worth trying. It's something that a lot of people don't do, but it's definitely going to increase your landing percentage, and I believe it'll get you more bites. So thanks for watching. This was your Bridgeford Foods tip of the month. Stay tuned. We got more videos coming out tomorrow.